Thanks everyone for being here. My name is Justin Desjardins. I'm one of the account executives here at Revelwood. I'm joined by my colleague, Alberto Cañas, who is one of our solutions consultants. And he's going to be showing you the actual demo today of adaptive planning, the high-level demo that's hopefully going to be helpful for you all here just in a few minutes. I just want to take a few minutes to give you an idea of what to expect today. And firstly, some background on Revelwood. We are a platinum business partner of Workday, which you may be aware of. And what that means basically is that we're part of an extremely select group of partners that help you to evaluate and implement adaptive planning. A couple of quick notes. We should be finished in about 45 minutes. During that time, all of you will be on mute. But if you have a question, there should be a Q&A button down at the bottom of your screen inside the Zoom app. So please enter any questions you have there, and we will try to get to it. If we don't, we will make sure to get back to you via email. And I'm aware that some of you may be here because you have an actual active initiative to get into a cloud FP&A solution, and out of another solution you might be struggling with, or whether you're still stuck in Excel, or you might just be curious and here to learn. Either way, we would greatly appreciate you taking 15 minutes with us sometime over the next few days, just to have a quick chat with us, to talk about what your current challenges are, if you have any feedback from the webinar today, and whether there's any resources that we can follow up with. An important thing to know is that the demo today is meant to just really give you a glimpse into the power of what Workday Adaptive Planning can do. But just know that there's no way that we could cover everything. This is a very powerful and flexible tool, but in 45 minutes, we'll hopefully give you a really good idea. So I only have a few slides before I pass it to Alberto, but adaptive planning is a place where you can do your modeling, your reporting, your analytics, all in one place. So the idea is everything that you need for planning, for business-wide planning, is in this one solution. And it's going to act as your central source of truth, if you will. So typically, we're initiating the conversation with finance teams, and of course, we're pulling in data from the general ledger, but adaptive can connect to really any data source that you need, because at the end of the day, data is data. And you'll be able to bring all of your business data into one place for your business to model on and report on that data with confidence. And speaking of which, this slide gives you an idea of many of the areas that you can plan and model your business within adaptive. So it's not limited to the core FP&A. As Alberto walks through the different sheets in the demo, you'll see that you can really model this out to whatever your business needs are, and it expands to any operational area of the business. Adaptive planning operates on the Elastic Hypercube technology, which is a patented Workday technology. And this is a key competitive differentiator. I'm not going to talk about specifics about the technology because that's not important. But the reason it is key is because it makes the solution scalable and particularly able to have an unlimited number of dimensions, an unlimited number of versions, scenarios. And when your system needs more processing power, the system is intelligent, so it expands as you need that power. But what's equally important is that you have all of this power without losing any ease of use and maintainability. As you will see in the demo today, everything is extremely intuitive and drag and drop functionality so that the end users can own this system without assistance from IT or whatever it may be. And that's part of the reason why Adaptive has almost 6,000 customers globally. This is way more than any of our competitors in the FP&A solution space. And that's because Adaptive has a 95+% gross customer retention rate, which really speaks to the value of what these customers are getting out of Adaptive. These are customers in all different industries, as you can see, and the customer base just continues to grow rapidly. And finally, some highlights here. part of the reason it has such a high retention rate is because it's ranked really high by third-party research firms like Gartner and Forrester. You can see that Workday is no new kid on the block. It's been ranked #1 on Fortune's Future 50 list, #2 on Forbes' World's Most Innovative. So hopefully you'll see today why Adaptive is being used by so many different customers across the globe. And at this point, I will pass it to you, Alberto.
So to get into Adaptive, you really can get or utilize any web browser that you have. Right now, I'm just using Chrome. So here, I'm just going to go into it. You're going to go into the Adaptive Planning site and go right into this login. It gives you your login credentials. So that's how you're going to get it. So I already have some details here. So this is the welcome page. So at the end of the day, this welcome page is customizable. So when you log in, all you care about is maybe seeing some kind of visual, a dashboard, a graph. You'll be able to do that, right? So all this, that's what's new, all this basic detail, you'll definitely be able to get to that, in various different ways just by, roaming around the solution. To begin the demonstration, I really like to highlight some of the key areas that the users will have access to. I'm not going to go through all of these, but I really will focus on the main parts of the demonstration, which happens to be the main areas that most users really will be working in. But as you can see here, we have sheets. Sheets are essentially, if you're working in Excel, for example, can correspond to all the different tabs. If you have one massive file or all your different, different files, if you have, bunch of them, and then they have to, be aggregated up. So you have those all in one place here. You can create unlimited sheets to fit your needs. And as I mentioned, I'll definitely be able to go through these. Then you have assumptions. Assumptions are really just global drivers, if you will, that you can utilize to drive certain calculations throughout the solution. Maybe you have to incorporate some kind of inflation rate, then that drives other pieces of your plan. So you'll be able to really manage those here. And as you make one change to that particular data point, it's going to update everywhere. Then you have reports. Reports are pretty self-explanatory, but this is what I like to call where you're building the pretty standard or typical web-based traditional row and column report. Definitely, as I mentioned, be diving into these areas. Dashboards are definitely just visuals that you'll be able to incorporate. Consolidations, if you have any kind of need for true accounting consolidation, multiple companies with intercompany transactions, eliminations, even be able to incorporate some kind of adjustments and journal entries. So a lot of options there. Processes and workflow that really just allows for to give your users, your non-financial users, a guided experience, like a task list, if you will. So just a lot of different options there. Formulas, again, pretty self-explanatory. Adaptive does give users the ability to create different types of calculations, really straightforward or with a lot more logic to them. Then we have the modeling section. This is actually an area where I like to take a quick little detour to. Right in here in the modeling, this is essentially the back end of Adaptive. This is usually where the administrator, the main user or users can start, playing around with how do you want to manage the solution, the plan that they're using. So as I go into some of these areas, let's go into the versions. So with Adaptive, you'll have the ability to create unlimited versions. And as you can see here, different ways, different strategies that you can incorporate. Your actuals will be in here because they're considered versions. Your bottom-up approach, which is pretty typical, or maybe a top-down approach. But again, unlimited versions that are fully functional. You can easily make copies of one and then start making, what ifs or best cases and worst cases and such. Then if I go back into my modeling, you also have the ability to define your time strata. Most organizations are incorporating a monthly as a way of looking at it and then rolling up accordingly, quarters to years. But sometimes organizations need a lot more granularities. Maybe you need to look at things on a daily or even a weekly level. So you'll be able to incorporate that, but everything still, again, rolls up, to what you need. Then you have your level structure. So with the levels, this is essentially the way you look at your organizational hierarchy. And again, this is highly customizable depending on what your needs are. Our example here is really showing you a multi-company structure, right? Going down to divisions, going down to, at least here by countries, and then brings you down to the lowest level. So all the data within Adaptive is actually captured at these lowest levels, and then everything just aggregates up accordingly. But it's very simple to just add these details within Adaptive. It's about not needing coding. You don't need to be a coding expert to add these details. As you can see here, if I just want to add another level to my United States hierarchy, just go in here, you create a new level. There you go. I'm just going to call this new demo level, just to give it something. It's a code, so I'm going to new demo level. And then that's it. You just define where you want it to roll up to. So you just keep going in. Maybe you want to roll it up into US. Save it down. And then that's it. And you just accept the changes. I'm not going to accept that change, just so I make it clean as I go forward in my demonstration. But that's as easy as it is. Again, no coding, nothing to customize in that way to be some kind of MDX expert. And then you have dimensions, additional details that are powerful, that are needed, things potentially like customers, products, projects, things like that. And then attributes are just levels of detail that just give you more information, descriptive tags, as I like to call them. But this is really as straightforward as it can be. Again, nothing hidden, everything is really straightforward and easy to understand. So now I'm actually going to dive into the sheets, right? So that's the main area where users are working in Adaptive. And you have 3 types of sheets that you can create, and I'm going to go through all of them for you folks. So the first one here, this is what we call a standard sheet. Keep in mind, all the sheets will be in Excel in nature. You're seeing here, just keeps it pretty familiar. Most people are comfortable working in Excel. But here, I'm just going to walk you through some of the key foundational elements that exist within Adaptive, and that's why everything just moves seamlessly throughout. You have here your time strata, again, monthly, but again, if you had something daily, you'll see that there. Here are your different versions, so you don't have to worry about trying to figure out how to create another version. Once they're there, you can just toggle between them and work with them. And then you have your level structure. As I mentioned, I'm down to that lowest level, so that's how I'm working. So now I'm going to walk you through some of the details that you're seeing here. First, these green numbers, these represent actuals, right? So we have, a lot of different ways that we can bring in your data from your general ledgers, but this is just one way we define that. This is a 3+9 forecast, right? Our forecast. And you can name it whatever you want to, but this is really saying, as actuals come in, those numbers are going to come into this particular version. And same thing, maybe April's numbers are now set, they're coming in via the integration, and it's going to overlay on top of these numbers. If this is the version you want it to go in, you have options to where you want them to go into. These numbers here that are grayed out, can't change them. Because they're either locked formulas, or because they're actually based off of a different area of the solution, a supporting schedule, as we like to call them. And I'll actually pivot back to this in a few moments, but I just want to continue showing some of the details here. These blue cells are just totals, subtotals. You can see, the white cells are now where the user can go in and make their edits. You can just simply key numbers in. You can copy paste. You can copy paste from other files and put them in here. You can even take advantage of some nice capabilities here. So just kind of speed up the process. In here, you can just copy these forward if you know that the months are the same. But it's never that straightforward. There's definitely going to be some fluctuations, but maybe you do know what the total number should be. So I'm just going to put in something extremely random. Hit enter, and it gives up this apply breakback method. So this is just a nice way to show some intelligence that's built right into Adaptive. Right now, it has proportionally, so it knows that as you hit enter, which I will, it knows to just break it back proportionally. And then you have other ones as well. Looking at prior year values, that's a spread that a lot of organizations like to use, and even some other ones, and even create your own. A very common example would be something like a seasonality that you need to incorporate, but at the end of the day, it's all custom. So Click OK, and then brings it back, and it knows to subtract these two numbers of actuals and then break them back accordingly. Let me actually just save this down. This is how quick it saves and refreshes that data. So you also have the ability to see these little red tick marks. These are just little notes that you can incorporate, and it's easy. Just go in, add a note, edit the note, simple, almost similar to how you can do that in Excel. But those notes are really straightforward, powerful. They actually are kept at the intersection of all that data, and they actually move throughout the solution. So if that note is something that you need to incorporate in a report, you'll be able to do that. You can also see throughout the screen all these little blue tick marks. These blue tick marks indicate that those cells are actually made up of formulas. And you can see the formula right in here, what I just highlighted. This to the right of the highlight, that's just a little note, a little comment that people can even add there. But the formula is really this. But the key with the formulas are that they're as straightforward as just pointing to an account. It's not about as an Excel where you're pointing to like a A25 times B50 in another cell, and it just gets really, really crazy. Here it's telling you exactly which account's for. And it's going to be following the way your account structure is defined and brought into Adaptive. Here it's just really saying it's an account for personnel for FTE multiplied by an assumption for telephone per head count. Very straightforward. So as I mentioned earlier with those assumptions, as you make those changes, they move. Or when it comes to the FTE, if say you're adding headcount, adding FTEs, that's going to update and fluctuate all the calculations automatically. You're not going to have to go to different tabs, different files to make those changes as typically is the case. So definitely gives you a lot of capabilities there to incorporate. And even Adaptive does allow users to really just look at different ways into the screen. And this is really custom to what Adaptive allows users, the customization of each individual user's screen. Here depends on how many years of history you'll see. That's what you'll see there. And also it's a multi-year solution, unlimited years. So if you have a 5-year plan, 10-year plan, you'll be able to keep looking that into the future. And then if you want to look at prior numbers, just click into it, and then you'll start seeing which numbers you want to look at. So very straightforward, very easy to customize that detail there. One really nice option that for me is one of the most powerful features that Adaptive has, and one of my personal favorites. It's this. When I click here, it goes into Explore Cell. This Explore Cell is really nice because it gives you the ability to see everything that's going on in that cell. So it tells you, where you can find this number, the accounts, how it rolls up, things like that. You'll even see that it's a formula and how it's translated. Also, if I go into this number that I was playing around with, let's explore a cell there. What if you're reviewing this and that number looks really way off? You can even go into an audit trail and actually see what's happening, right? So as I go in here, you'll see the timestamp, who did it, what it was, what it now is, right? So now you can say, definitely instantly see who did it and kind of talk to them and see what's going on there. So that is just a really nice way to work. But also, as I mentioned, let me pull back to that top number that's coming from that supporting schedule. So this happens to be salary. So let's click in there again and go explore cell. Right, very, very slick. So this one here is really straightforward also. It's saying that instead of having some kind of formula, you're just pointing to a particular account. So right here, it's salary account. But let's follow the bouncing ball. Click into the amount. This now tells us that salary amount is coming from these 4 people. But it allows us to go right to that screen or that sheet where these numbers are actually kind of coming from. So let's go to it. This workforce planning. So this workforce planning is now on the second type of sheet that you can create with an Adaptive, right? This is what we call a model sheet. And for me, this is why the solution is really powerful and why it gets adopted throughout an organization, not just part of the finance team, right? So if you do plan on bringing in other light budget contributors that are outside of FP&A and outside of finance, this is where they'll get a lot of benefit. This here is that payroll, that workforce, and people in this department, the people that work on this kind of detail, this is really what's important to them, and it can kind of mimic what they have in, if you're working in Excel, what they have. You can see all the different tabs, all the names, titles, if you want to look at that detail, because All of these are custom to what's important to you. The more columns or dimensions, as these are called, the more you have, the more options you have for reporting and such. So again, very, very detailed. Resident for taxes. So again, if you have employees across different states, obviously there are different rates and such in those states. Click into this. This is just a pick list, right? And most of these are pick lists, but you can also have free form capability to just type in, but you have the ability to have that pick list, define all that detail. So you can see the most important things, start dates, end dates, if you want to include hourly, weeks, benefits, right? Again, different benefit plans at different costs. So all this detail is just pulling from assumption sheets to then drive those results, right? So as I keep going, pensions, raises, commissions. At the end of the day, if you don't have those details or need those particular items, you just don't include them when you create your sheets. But this just gives that flexibility to just do what you need to do, and it's not just for personnel, it's for anything you want to. That's the power with these model sheets. So as I go back, as I go into something like travel, so as I go in here, just to kind of show you how it's not just for personnel. Here now it's telling us what the numbers are. Keep going, and this is taking us to this travel sheet. Right. So this travel sheet, in essence, is another modeled sheet, but you can see it's unique to this. So this is where you'll use this if you have the need for traveling and taking into account those expenses. You'll see it right there, right? If you want to have specific things that you do and where they go, there you have it. Describe them for yourselves, travel dates, length, that all takes into account those costs, and it drives those expenses. So again, and then this just rolls up and those results go into that expense sheet that we started on, right? So again, get all the granular detail there, and then it rolls up. And if you have a P&L that you want to roll that into, absolutely, you have that flexibility there as well. All right. So that's a little bit of those particular sheets. And now let me actually highlight for you the third sheet, the last type of sheet that you can create. This is what we call a cube sheet. And now you can still see that we have some of those details, our level structures, our dimensions, as I mentioned, customer, product. These here are attributes. So if you have that kind of detail you want to incorporate. So, but you can also look at information in a lot of different ways, right? This detail. What if you want to look at your revenues by a different way of looking at the screen, right? Just gives you different options to work. This is now you'll be able to see by the year that you're on, all those details, and you have it now separated by all your levels, if you will. So your locations or your departments, if that's the way you want to look at it. So definitely gives you some options there. Bring it right back. You also, as you can see here, these are details that are pretty standard, but you'll be able to incorporate what you want. Your units, price, that gives you your result, your discounts if you have any, does your gross revenue, your net revenue. If you want to incorporate any kind of cost of goods or cost per unit, things like that. So everything is here at your disposal, and again, all based on different formulas that you want to create. And I also like sharing with this how you can even look at information in a little different ways, right? So here, maybe you want to go by the account and then maybe down by certain levels. And in a few seconds, it's going to rearrange the screen for you again. Maybe this is not one way you look at it, but you can definitely see everything here broken down, all your levels. So here's your units by those levels, by those products, by those customers. And obviously it's just pick and choose where you want to go. All the detail there. There you can see below the prices, again, broken out that way. So very granular, might not be quite the way you want to look at it, but that, again, gives you options. Okay. So now the next piece that I want to highlight for everyone is right here with the dashboards. So with dashboards, again, it's just taking the same data that you have within Adaptive and now giving you a visual, right? And then the next one is going to be my reporting, and then I'm going to finish it off with Office Connect. So nice options there. So here we just have some details, and again, those foundational elements that I highlighted earlier, right? Your level structure, so you just pick what you want to look at. Your time strata, right? So if you have daily or monthly, however you want it, and then you have your versions, right? So you never have to worry about recreating your visuals for the different versions. It's just about switching to the one you want. So as you can see, you can include some verbiage, for just tell people what's going on, what they need to do. Now you can start getting into some of those visuals, as you can see here, right? So you can do different types, not just about graphs and KPIs and such, just the budget, right? You can see, waterfalls and different types of report of visuals there. Let's see, CRM data is important for a lot of organizations. So again, as I mentioned earlier, it's we are bringing in your general ledger, but also any kind of CRM data, operational data that you need to bring in that's important that you want to report on. It's all there, right? So daily orders, if you want, again, get down to that granularity, sales, production, if it comes to like manufacturing or construction, depending on what you want to incorporate. So, and a lot of options at your disposal here. But what if you actually want to look down a little bit beyond, some of these details, right? Let's take a peek into this particular revenue stream. Click into it, and now you can see that you can instantly drill down to all these different layers in your plan, right? Your levels, your different dimensions and attributes. So this drill down capability is really powerful. It's automatic. You don't have to worry about building them. As soon as the data is in, you're able to do that. So what if you want to come down to by location? Breaks it down instantly, right? So depending on how you have it, maybe it's stores, or maybe it's different offices within the country. Here you have it just locations across different countries across the world. Keep going. Maybe you want to look at it by customers, so you can see the revenue of the customers within that particular location, and then just keep going down, right? I have products here. You can have projects, but at the end of the day, just by a couple clicks, you can go from, we'll say, the top of the house per se, and then down to that lowest level that you're really interested in looking at. So a lot of options there that give you, power into what you can see instantly. But what good would it be if you can't, build these easily? That is the power of adaptive. You can build these not really easy. Let me show you how. So I'm just going to call this new demo just to keep it pretty simple. And I'm just going to select my level. And now here are on the left the visuals that we can incorporate. I'm just going to go with pie chart. Just get something in there. Click into this little folder. You're going to see you'll have all your GL accounts available to you, but also any kind of metric account, assumption, custom accounts, modeled cube. Those correspond to those sheets that I walked you through. Before this, I know I have some data within my expenses, so I'm just going to drag it. Drag and drop. Gives you all this detail. It's just one big number because I haven't broken anything out. Let me show you how you can actually do that breakout very simply. Let's see, it'll come in here. I'm going to break it out by dimension. And now again, all the dimensions that are available. So simple location. There you have it. You're all set. Now you can do multiple, as you saw in those examples, those previous examples. So let's bring in a KPI, just to get something in there. So with KPIs, instead of GL accounts, maybe they're metrics, right? So we can even go down the list, see some financial KPIs, maybe something like working capital or something, or anything you really want to. But there you go, just drag and drop, gives you that detail instantly. So now I'm done. And there you have it. And now you can even keep looking at that detail, click into it, and now you can drill down automatically. Again, I just built this, but I didn't have to tell it how to or where to drill down to. It gives it to me instantly. So those are just some key concepts when it comes to dashboards. The next area I want to dive into are reports. So this is one of those standard row and column reports that I mentioned a little bit ago. When it comes to these reports, these are extremely interactive, right? Yes, of course you can create reports that are just static, that people can just go in to consume and not make any changes, not drill into anything. That's definitely something you can do. But a lot of the times you want to have that interactive capability to start looking into it. Of course, you can see here, this is just a report on expenses where that's comparing, two versions to each other, right? You can see right there, version 1, version 2, and when you click into them, all the versions that you have available to you, you'll be able to just pick and choose which one you want. You can also see some conditional formatting that can be incorporated, right? Some highlights, things that might fall outside of the norm. Yellow is usually good enough to pass, even though those are pretty large. But now we can actually see that there's a pretty big variance down below here. But because you can do a lot of digging in here, let me show you how. Go into, click into the amount or the account, and it now allows you to drill down, similar to the dashboards. Instantly have that ability to drill into this. Levels is usually a good place to start. So let's drill that down. And it instantly gives you that same structure, but now broken down by all those levels that we have. And now we can see that we have that variance in that sales north level, right? So now we can start doing some digging in. And a lot of the times, this is where organizations or people looking at the report get stuck, right? They have to now go into a lot of research that takes a lot of time. With Adaptive, this is why it's really powerful, that explore cell, because you can utilize that in here. If you click in the amount here, it gives you, or brings up, should I say, that explore cell dialog, and it tells you what's going on, right? So this account, or is this number is made up of this account, what it was last year, times some kind of inflation rate. You know, looks pretty good. So let's move on to the actuals. So because we have an integration capabilities, Adaptive can also display anything that's within, or the transactions, as you can see up here in the top left, the transactions in your general ledger. So in this instance, you can see that there's $1,000 that hit for an entertainment, an outing. 2,600 should have been booked for lunch, accidentally booked for 2.6 million, right? So that right there instantly tells you what's going on. And these details that you see here will be, you know, unique to what you want to incorporate, but at least this will give the user the ability to see exactly what happened. They'll be able to reach out to the appropriate teams, tell them exactly when it happened, as opposed to asking them to dig into it. And then, you know, that just kind of speeds up that process instantly. And then you can, you know, once that detail is updated in on that side, on the accounting side, reload those new numbers into Adaptive and refresh the report, and everything just trues up automatically for you. So very, very slick there. But also, let me show you how to create a report here in Adaptive. Go. So I'm just going to pick a matrix report, but you have different options at your disposal. So here's my canvas, if you will. So, you know, reports typically are, you know, created based on accounts, and similar to the, again, the dashboards, you have your GL accounts and all the different, you know, types of accounts you can create or utilize, should I say. And again, I know I have some good expenses, so I'm just going to drag that in. Maybe I also want to incorporate some kind of metric within here. So maybe, I don't know, gross margin, net income perhaps. So let's back out. What kind of report do I want to create? Let's create a very simple comparison report. So what do I want to compare? Let's compare versions. So again, all the versions that I highlighted earlier, they're all going to be available to you. So let's compare my working budget to my forecast. And now I want to do a variance. Variances are calculations and their differences. So I'm going to drag those in as well. I'm going to do a couple to show you why. Let's change this name to make it something a little bit more user friendly. I'll call this variance dollar. This one variance percent, and flip this to percent. And now I'm going to add some filters and some parameters. So if I don't do that, it's just going to include all the data that you have. So obviously you want to pinpoint something. So first I'm going to go with levels, right? Again, your structure. So I'm just going to drag in the entire company. But if you are interested in just as you build it, just go into a particular area, you can just toggle down to it. Same goes with the time. I just want the current year or a specific time period. So I'm going to bring that in. But I'm also going to drag over the level structure to the parameter. That's going to make the report dynamic that you'll be able to drill into it. If I didn't do that, it's only going to be showing you the level that you brought into the filter. So now let me run this out. And there you have it. Open it up. You have all the detail. You see your two budgets. Now you can see the drop down as well. So you're, again, really have a lot of flexibility and ease there as well. So you don't ever have to worry about having to create, you know, roll-ups or anything like that. It's all done for you, and you just define the structure of the report that makes sense and how you want it to look. Okay. All right. So now the next piece that I'm gonna finish off in the next 10 minutes or so I'm gonna highlight for you Office Connect. So this is Office Connect. Yes, it's Excel. As I like to say, it's not the typical scary Excel that you have something like this. It's going to be completely littered with formulas, things that as you try to break them, they're gonna or fix them, should I say, they're gonna break and things like that. Now it's a headache. With Adaptive, with Office Connect, you don't have to worry about that. As I click up here where it says linked cells, everything that just got highlighted is pulling from Adaptive. So that's again where you're, the source of the one source of the truth, and all the detail is there. You're building all the information there, and Office Connect here is just going to pull that data when you refresh, right? So as you add more data into Adaptive, you just come in here and then you just refresh it. So this is really just a current year trailing 6. So maybe you want to bring in now March's numbers. So all you have to do is come in here, move that date over. And again, if you want to do this day by day, you most certainly can. I'm just going to go to the end of the year, excuse me, end of the month. And then I'm just going to refresh all my sheets, because this is the case, right? If you have all these sheets, you're going to have to make changes to all of them. So with Adaptive, with Office Connect, you just change that date once. Make sure you go all sheets, but you can go one by one if you really want to. And it is using your Adaptive credentials. So let me actually pop those in really quickly. And in a few seconds, again, if it's showing you your current month and then trailing 6, there's March, September dropped off, and October moved down. I probably would have created a new column and then moved things over. That's too much work. This does it for you. And then same thing, if you want to add some more detail here, all you'll have to do is bring the detail over. And again, you can see here on the left-hand side, all those same accounts and such that are existing in the solution. So you come in, these are expenses. Let me actually move this over just a little bit. Here are some expenses. This is, I'm just going to go taxes down to marketing, drag them in. And I just want to refresh this one. And there you have it. So instantly gives you that information. And then again, as you save this down, and then tomorrow, if you have more new updated details, just refresh the data and it comes in as you go. So very, very slick. But this is also part, it's not just the Excel piece. You can utilize Office Connect with the Microsoft products, PowerPoint and Word. As you can see here with the PowerPoint, let me bring this over here. So same thing, all these graphs, all the numbers, if you were just working in Excel and then you have to bring them over, you have to copy paste, and you have to fix everything, you have to change all the dates and all the detail. Again, I moved it from February to March. So now I'll just go in here because it's still using that Office Connect add-on, because that's essentially what it is. Refresh it. Now you can see instantly changed all the numbers, all the graphs, all the labeling instantly. And that tends to be such a pain for most organizations, most people working on this part of the usually the end of the process, where everyone's running on fumes and things get missed. Adaptive Office Connect is really going to help you folks with this. So we're right around that time. That is what I had for my presentation. I do hope that was helpful. Thank you again for your time, and Justin, I will hand it back to you.
Sounds great. Thanks, Alberto. So hopefully everybody saw how powerful and flexible Adaptive is, and especially how easy to use it is. We can, of course, show you additional functionality on a follow-up if there are key aspects to your business. Every business is different, and they have things that they're looking for. So we'd be happy to have a follow-up. Feel free to visit our Knowledge Center. You can go to .com. And we've got a bunch of good tips and tricks on our website there. But more importantly, feel free to reach out directly at any time. You can see my contact information there, but also one of my colleagues at Revelwood might be reaching out to you over the next couple of days. Once again, as I mentioned before, for a 15-minute connect to get your feedback. We would greatly appreciate that if you do accept that invite to connect. So once again, we hope that you got great value out of today. We're sure that there's much more that we can show you if you want to dive deeper. So thanks for attending today, and talk to you soon.